Alright, so today we will be reacting to a Toni Talks interview. Kumusta? Mabuhay! Magandang gabi yan! Maligayang pagbabalik sa aking channel. Ako po si Ovela, I am your host Ovela, and for today I have chosen to react to Toni Gonzaga interviewing the one and only Gary Valenciano. It's been a minute since I reacted to a Toni interview, but that's because she's been interviewing people that I am not familiar with, you know? I know a little bit of Gary Valenciano. I've reacted to a bunch of his performances, and I've also watched maybe a couple of interviews of Gary. So I think I'm going to enjoy this interview, especially because I like Toni's questions and the way she handles her conversation, you know, with her guests. But before we start, consider following me on Instagram at Music Game News, because that is where you can DM me your suggestions. All right, without further ado, let's get to it.
Toong pangalan po ni Kuya Gary is Edgardo Jose Santiago Valencia.
Oh my! Then why did he choose Gary as a stage name? He kept the Valenciano, but he added Gary. Kuya, so brother Gary's real name is Edgardo Jose Santiago Valenciano. All right.
Saan nakuha yung Gary dun? Yung Gary.
Thank you.
That's a good question kasi
Okay, so they are filming in Gary V's studio. Usually, it's interesting because usually the guests go to her studio, you know, her like white studio. But this time around, she's the one who went to his studio. And lately, you know, all the videos of Gary have been filmed in his studio. I feel like as soon as the pandemic hit, he started, like he closed himself off to the world, kinda, and just went into this producing mode, you know, and just making music.
my parents never really gave me a solid answer. Basta alam ko, yung isa sa parents ko, gusto nila parang Spanish ang pangalan. Kasi Valenciano, di ba? And it's not Valenciano, it's not Valenciano, it's Valenciano.
Okay. Now that's how I'm gonna pronounce it from now on. Gary Valenciano. In Puerto Rican, it's with this Valenciano.
In Puerto Rican, it's with a TH. And my mom was in love with an actor by the name of Gary Cooper.
Tapos alam niyo si Kuya Gary nung lumalaki siya, pilyo si Kuya Gary at saka medyo makulit siya nung bata siya.
I was something else that rhymed with bully. I was naughty.
Really?
Very naughty. Mischievous. You know, I wouldn't drink in school, I wouldn't smoke in school, I wouldn't say bad words I wouldn't argue with the teachers and all, but yung mga ginagawa ko medyo daring.
Pero growing up, what was your dream?
Wow, my dream was everything that I am not today. I wanted to be the typical doctor, architect. Those were the top two.
When did you start singing?
Nice questions,
When I was
man.
a kid, my mom already said that I was singing. Kasi kumakanta ako sa bahay pag may mga taong pumupunta. Okay, so maybe I was about 7 years old, and the first song that I ever sang in front of her was the song I Believe. I believe for every drop of rain that falls of Laura. Ganon. And she heard it. Now, it was nothing yet. But when I sang that song, my mom already said, you know, he's probably going to end up in entertainment.
Hey,
so that's when
foresaw
I found out I could sing.
his future.
Pero I never thought, never in my life did I think na aabot ako sa ganito. Being 38, 37 years in the industry.
Yung
Wow.
pagsayaw, Kuya Gary.
Hey, it's true. He's a great dancer too, and yeah, isn't he called like the Michael Jackson of the Philippines or something like that?
Bata ka pa rin.
Yeah.
Magaling ka na sumayaw.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, hindi ko masasabi na dancer ako, but I could move. When I was in high school, as a senior, with the Kundirana of LaSalle Green Hills.
Very interesting. LaSalle Green Hills. We have a region here in Montreal that's called LaSalle.
As a senior, with the Kundirana of LaSalle Green Hills.
LaSalle Green Hills.
Michael Jackson did the
There
movie.
you go.
And I remember every day pumupunta ako sa studio kung saan kami nagre-record.
We all did that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if half of the world population at some point or another started imitating Michael Jackson, and especially the moonwalk or the crotch grab.
And I would be practicing the moonwalk all the time until one of my classmates saw it. And he says, "Oh, pare, gawin mo nga uli yun." So I did it again. Kulang pa. Hindi, pare, yun na yun, ginagawa mo. So from that time on, sa akin binibigay yung mga ibang mga dance.
Magagandang movement.
Pero simple lang yung mga galaw na ginagawa namin nun.
Kailan
Is that
yung unang beses kang kumanta sa TV?
I was
See, this is why I like her interviews, because her questions are so spot on. Those are the right questions. Those are the questions I would ask.
in my senior year in high school, Tita Pilita Corrales and Jackie Lou Blanco. May television show sila called Pilita and Jackie. So inimbita yung Kundirana to perform. But then after the performance, a few days after, lumapit si Tita Pilita. I think it was my sister Diane at sinabi niya na, "You think your brother can come back to the show, but as a soloist?" So I said, "Okay." But still at that time, wala pa rin.
Hindi pa rin yun yung dream mo. Hindi mo pa naisip na ito yung magiging path ko. Singer-performer ako.
No. It was like, well, okay, sige, I'll perform. Kasi I liked it, but I never thought that it would be my passion.
Kailan lumabas yun? Na ito na yung passion ko, this is what I want to do.
Dati kasi walang social media, di ba? So, it's all word of mouth. Uy, kilala mo ba si Gary Valenciano? Sino yun? Yung taga-Lasal, oo, kaibigan siya ng kaibigan ko, kaibigan ng o sige, pwede ba natin imbitahin na kumanta sa UP, Lasal, Ateneo,
Campus tour.
Saints ko, campus tour.
Yes.
Pero kaset ang dala ko, no?
Yes. Anong mga songs ang kinakanta mo doon, Kuya Gary? Michael Jackson ba?
No, wala akong Michael Jackson. Kasi binibili ko lang yung -1 ko sa Unimart. Talagang may record player ako, tapos nilalagay ko sa cassette. Yun na yun. So I would sing songs of Basil Valdez. I would sing songs of Rick Segreto. I would do songs of James Ingram. And those were the songs I would do. So what happened was, this was the turning point. I came out in a school called ICA, Immaculate Conception. And in this school, hindi ako nilagay sa pinaka-start ng show or sa pinaka-dulo. So nandun ako. Okay? Gary, you're going to sing on this part because it's going to fit the whole program. Wala. Para sa aking program. Basta kalabas ako doon, kakanta ako. But this time, they were really saying, this is the concept of the show. Okay. I stood out there. Idilat ang mga mata, masdan mo ang mundo. Wala ka bang napapansin sa paligiran mo?
This dude, like, did you see the amount of hair he had as a young person? He almost kept his entire hair, like even at 50-something years old. It's amazing.
At that point, walang sumisigaw. Pero meron mga nakikinig. And I was singing and I was saying, wait, I'm singing, I'm not entertaining anymore. I'm actually able to speak in the form of something harmonious, in the form of something melodious. And there I was, creating an impact that I never thought I could do. Kasi after the performance, iba na eh. Hindi na yung, it was more, wow, and that's what did it. So I remember talking to my sister and saying, Diane, I think this is where I want to go.
Because he felt like he was actually impacting people's lives, I think.
Being a solo performer.
You wanna pursue this career?
Yeah.
Yun na yun.
Kasi may mga offers din na maging part ng band. So dapat ako, Randy Santiago, and Juan Miguel Salvador, we were supposed to make up a band. But that event in ICA changed my whole perspective.
And then you were launched on TV. Paano yung launching ni Gary V?
What I remember clearly was the one of Martin and Pops. I think it was Penthouse
Martin Rivera?
Live. And it was so memorable, Tony, because the first time I stepped out there, meron na akong kanta na mabilis. Kanta ni Al Jarreau. I go to GMA7 and Martin Rivera.
There you go, Martin Rivera.
Gary. Okay, Gary. Pops, this guy's gonna...
And it's funny because now Gary V and Martin Rivera are part of ABS-CBN. And at the time, it was GMA. That's insane.
Knock you off your feet, ganyan. We're gonna come back with him in a while. And commercial. Habang commercial, nakatayo ako ng ganon. bumaba yung producer ng show, si Ronnie Henares. Sabi niya sa akin, Gary, right? I said, yeah. You might want to go upstairs because there seems to be a problem with your open reel.
Oh, shocks.
So I went upstairs. Ang nangyari, 2 kanta ang lumabas.
Ay.
Bali yung isang side lang kasi there's a whole process to it. Hindi nabura ng husto yung dating naka-record dun sa tape.
So magulo yung...
Magulo. 2 kanta na sabay.
Hindi pwede i-play.
Hindi talaga. So imagine I was already standing on stage. Naka-standby na ako.
Sure.
Biglang, so I'm sorry, but you can't perform tonight.
Damn.
You have to come back next week. I said, what? Okay, sige. So hiyang-hiya ako kasi at that time,
it wasn't his fault.
everybody had a crush on Pops Fernandez, including me. So I was there on stage and I saw her. I said, "Ooh, I'm gonna perform this song," and there she is. I exited and I never came back. But talagang naniniwala talaga ako that God works in mysterious ways.
There we go.
The next week,
There we go. I have noticed in many interviews of Gary V, or even in his songs, that he seems to be very religious. So I was wondering when he was going to mention, God or his religious tendencies in the interview. There we go.
Ako bumalik, si Juan Miguel, my good friend, called me and said, Gary, I want you to hear something. May pinarinig sa akin yung original -1 ng kanta ni Al Jarreau na gusto kong kantahin. I said, how did you get this? At that time, may gadget called Vocal Eliminator where you could take out the voice.
Nice.
So he gave me the -1. So now, I went with, the open reel na tama ang pagka-record. Then I performed. And, Toni, it was for me the first time na talagang nailabas ko yung mga hindi ko mailabas in other stages. Sa umpisa pa lang ng kanta, meron ng oh yeah!
Hey!
I mean, it just
Oh my!
like it was me.
So, okay, it makes more sense why people call him Michael Jackson of the Philippines. Why they compare him to Michael Jackson? Because he's a good dancer. I guess he can do some MJ moves. He's a great singer, but he kind of looks like MJ, from certain angles. I think that's why.
And I was in a show where na-appreciate yung ginawa ko. So Martin was there, Pops was there, and I got to sing the song.
And after that, the rest was history, di ba?
The rest was
Nagtuloy-tuloy
history.
na. So 17 yung parang first big launch. Tapos 18,
He was young.
nagsusunod na yung word of mouth na you have to hear Gary Valenciano, may bagong young na guy, na singer, na sobrang galing.
Yeah.
But at 19 years old, something happened that really changed your life.
Yeah.
You became a father.
I became what people called and what the media called an unwed father.
Okay.
I was quite lost as a young boy, a young boy rushing to be a young man, being given all the
Wow, so
responsibilities
handsome.
of being the entertainer I was becoming. And it was 2 weeks before my first major
Major
concert
concert.
at the Araneta Coliseum called A-Live. Gary Valenciano. Hindi pa uso yung Gary V.
Oh, yeah.
Gary Valenciano A-Live. And I will never forget how the meeting went with me and my management. Kasi may mga tabloids na Yung unwed father, who will it be?
Damn.
Tapos may 3 mukha na blurred out. Yung my face, Raymond Lauchenko's face, and Martin Nievera's
Parang
face.
blind item.
Parang blind item. Who will it be? And I remember driving to Saint Scholastica for a performance with my cassettes. Tapos may mga kumakatok na newsboy na may dala-dalang
Oh my
tabloid.
God.
Parang, ikaw ba to? Ikaw ba to? And I was like that. Doon ko na-experience yung my first major hypoglycemic episode during that time because of all the stress that I was getting from the media. And all the media wanted to do was know the truth. So when we met with my management team,
I also feel like Gary Valenciano's speaking voice is very soothing and very relaxing because it's deep and he just keeps it at the same level. There are no real intonations.
Alam ko pa yun Nag-uusap sila. Ako nakikinig lang ako sa mga sinasabi nila. And a couple of the plans were, number 1, maybe Angeli can go to Australia and have the child. Let me just name the child. Paulo. Maybe she can just have Paulo there na lang. Kasi may cousins naman siya dun So that Gary's career is preserved. The other one was, look, just go to the States. You know, Gary, your family's there. You can take Angeli with you and you can have the child there. And then just come back. But somehow, Tony, in me, there was no peace eh. Kasi parang, that's my child.
Yeah.
Why am I going to hide?
Exactly.
Baka paglaki ng anak ko, tanungin ako, Dad, totoo ba na you wanted to hide me because it was a mistake and all, and you didn't want to face it and all? And thank God na hindi nangyari yon, because I told my team, my sister Diane, again, looked back at me and said, you know, we're talking here, why don't we ask Gary what he should do? Kasi meron akong press conference. At alam namin lahat na yan ang tatanungin nila. Hindi nila tatanungin
yung concert.
Tatanungin nila kung yung tungkol sa pagiging buntis, no? Ni Angeli. And they looked back at me and then they asked me, Gary, what do you think you should do? And I said, you know, I think we should just tell the public the truth. And let's use the first major concert as a gauge. Kung walang tao, then I get Angeli and let's go to the States and whatever. Tapos na, my career's done. And then here comes the press con. And I'll never forget the late Ricky Lo. Is it true? And I'm like, yeah, it's true. Aren't you afraid that your fans will leave you? Many of them will, you know. And I was saying, yeah, well, we'll see what happens on April 13, Friday the 13th.
1984.
1984.
Well, I wasn't even
So
born.
here comes the concert. Siyempre, they put
That's
it out in the
insane.
news, no? It's Gary Valenciano. He's going to become ano, ganyan. And I'll never forget, after the prayer, my sister Gina comes into the room. She's crying. And I said, Gina, why are you crying? We're sold out.
Hey, pwa, pwa, pwa.
When I heard that, I was like, we're sold out.
People didn't care.
All right, so syempre, I have to walk all the way up. At that time, di ba uso sa mga concerts, pag sinara na yung ilaw,
Sigawan na lahat.
eto wala. Meron din, pero hindi ganun ka, yung plug, uy! Kasi I think, Tony, na marami ang nanood sa akin na curious. Sino ba tong Gary Valenciano na to na pinag-uusapan na, magiging unwed father daw, na buntis daw yung girlfriend niya, ganun. Pero okay daw siya.
I wonder if he actually married this Angelique girl who he's had a child with, a boy with, before he got married, right?
Mag-perform. O, teka, panoorin natin. So that's why people went. And I went all the way to the top, and the first song was Brand New Day. Can you feel a brand new day? And I remember when I heard the music, I am sorry, my hair standing. But when I heard the music start, dun ko narinig. Then I came down and I was like, everybody look around, because there's a reason to rejoice, you see. And my opening number had two guests, Sharon Cuneta and Shasha Pabilo.
Oh, Sharon Cuneta and Sasab. Oof.
From that time on, na, tuloy-tuloy na.
Legends,
What was
right?
that feeling like holding Paolo for the very first time?
Nice question.
I will never forget that day because I had a concert eh. He was born sometime in the afternoon, and when I held him, I wanted to go to the media and say, alam ko, I know my career may be over, may be tapos na, lahat ng mga sinabi niyo maaari
But the
maging
kid
totoo.
is more important.
Pero, meron ba kayong ganito?
Yeah.
This is my son. And then from there, I had to go na to the airport and leave. And when I got there to Iloilo,
Iloilo.
de Oro, I told them, I know you've read all the news, but today my son was born. My son Juan Paulo Martin was born. To hold your son or a child for the very first time, it's beyond proud. Proud is an understatement. It's an overwhelming sense of joy na you have the worries of, naku, I hope I become a good father. Naku, I hope what's he's gonna, sana he makes the right decisions in life later on. But all of that is put aside when you actually feel the warmth of your son, of your child, or your daughter in your arms, and he's your firstborn.
Paano mo na-juggle yun? You were a father, a husband, a performer.
The help
That's
of
all
his
by
wife,
God's
right?
grace. Yung nangyari sa akin kasi was the total opposite of what the media said would happen to me. Media said, that's the end of your career. No, it actually catapulted. Kasi imbis na I would come out being, well, wala na yung career ko, I came out and, come on, let's continue to have fun. Apparently, marami din ang nakaintindi sa sitwasyon namin. I mean, there was a time we were just sleeping on mats on the floor. Yung kurtina namin ay yung mga tabloid, yung mga old newspapers.
Really?
Yeah. That's how we started. And that's, I think, what grounded me. You know, what made me realize na, look, you have a lovely wife. You know, you're blessed with a lovely wife. You have a beautiful son.
Okay, so I guess he did marry her, and I think, you know, things turned out okay for him because he seems like a genuinely good person. And he did the right thing.
That's actually enough already.
Look
So
at his
whatever
happy
else
face.
comes your way, just take it as part of the package. And I'm speaking like this, as you notice, I'm not saying anything about God kasi hindi ko pa siya kilala in the way that I know Him now.
Oh, I
Kailan mo
see.
na-
I see. So he wasn't close with God when he was younger. I guess it was later on. Okay.
Kailan
I met-
yung...
The turning point
Yeah, the turning point naman.
was in 1985. This was at the time when a song called Di Na Natuto was at its peak. Now, Di Na Natuto is a song written by Danny Javier. Ito yung naging first Tagalog single ko. And for some reason, Tony, di ba? I have a beautiful boy, a beautiful wife, a good career, but there
But-
was something missing here. I would perform, and when I would come home, like, okay, but ano kaya kung bumalik ako dun sa venue na yon next week? Magiging sold out din kaya yung lugar na yon? Or what's my next song going to be like? Kasing lakas ba ng Di Na Natuto? O baka, ano kaya? There was a lot of insecurity
And worry.
and worry. And one of my biggest insecurities is one of my best friends, Martin Rivera. Every time he would come up with a new song, I'm like, ang kanta ng kanta. Ang grabe naman. But, okay, so I would come and I'd try to create music. Ikaw ang lahat sa... And I'm like the voice. I can't sound like that. And then he would come up with Be My Lady, all of these songs that were just so beautiful. And rightfully so, you know. I mean, what an entertainer he was, and he could make people laugh. And together with everything else, I realized that I wasn't a happy man. I was not being authentic to my audience. Na pagkatapos ng show, sumisigaw sila. Yeah.
Is that because he wasn't singing his own songs? That's probably it, you know?
Good. Pagpasok ng kotse, pauwi sa bahay, bakit ba? Why am I feeling that there's something missing? So one day, November 12 of 1985, I was invited to go to my sister-in-law's house
Makati.
in Makati. And I knew na ang pag-uusapan namin ay si Lord. But people have to understand kung bakit ako medyo umiwas sa mga topics about Lord. One, I was an altar boy when I was young. Okay? I had a beautiful family that broke apart because of financial
see.
problems. My parents separated, and it was a perfect scenario, as in perfect way of growing up. Tapos biglang, so I was saying, wait, tapos yung diabetes.
At 14 yan,
At 14.
sabay-sabay.
But when I was about 11 or
Wait.
10 years old, with my tito
He got diabetes at the age of 14 years old?
beside me, nasa beach kami. And I think the beach was Matabungkay kasi yan ang uso dati. And I remember seeing his daughter running in the beach. And while she was running, may nursemaid sa likod na may hawak na syringe. So tinanong ko yung tito ko, Tito, why is she running away and why is she screaming? Umiiyak na, I don't like. Tapos sabi niya, Gary, kasi my daughter has a condition known as diabetes. And every day she has to take an injection. And so the nursemaid is running after her with the injection because she has to take it now.
All right.
I told him, what? You know, Tito, that's one thing I never want to have.
Oh, damn.
11 ka nun.
Innocently, I said it. And at the age of 14,
Oh.
my sugar level hit 722 when it's only supposed to be between 80 and 120, diabetic. Then I come home from the United States and I'm leading a retreat. Of course, at that point, retreat. Pag sinabi mong retreat kasi, that's makajos, that's knowing each other, self-realization, activities, but they're all God-centered. And during that retreat, On the last day, o yung sa umaga ng last day, my dad comes to school and to tell me that, Gary, while you were here, the house burned last night. I said, you know what? Thank you, but no thanks. Bye. And
Kay God.
And I had, wala na. But then, in 1985, with all of these things happening, there was an emptiness. And Angeli wanted me to go to that dinner because alam niya na ang pag-uusapan ay Lord. At alam niya na I forgot God.
Yes.
Wala ng prayer. Yung bayaw ko, kilala ko siya bilang isang tao na very rare siya mag-smile, maging friendly and all. That's just the image I had of him. But that night, he talked to me and he goes, hey, Gary, how are you? And the first question was, hey, Gary, so I just wanted to ask you a question. Do you know who Jesus is? So, syempre.
Very straightforward.
Tagalasal, di ba? So, yeah, of course I know who Jesus is. I mean, he's the Son of God. And he's the Son of Mary. And, he died. And he rose 3 days. I know. His name was Vic. Yung bayaw ko si Vic. Vic, I know. That's good. Pero ang napansin ko kay Vic, yung aura, his entire being was different from the Vic I knew before. Until he asked that question. So Gary, if you died right now, where would you go? Don't answer na, alam ko. No, think about it. Because I did. I thought about it. And then I became serious with Vic. I said, Vic, look, I know where you're going with this conversation. But I'm not ready for that. Maybe next week, usap tayo. I'll tell my secretary to call you. Imagine me telling my bayaw. I'll tell my secretary. Di ba, mas okay kung, Vic, I'll just call you next week. And Vic responded with, it's okay. But what if on your way home, something happens?
Yikes. Wow, he's good.
Where would you go? And slowly, Tony, I found myself getting more involved in what we were talking about. I wasn't condemned. I wasn't looked down on. Nobody told me, you're going to hell. Because, no, it was just a calm, genuine care from my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law in talking to me about Jesus. And that night, we said a very simple prayer. No lightning, no thunder, nothing was going on around me. But there were a lot of things going on in me. And that night, I accepted Jesus into my heart as my Lord and my Savior. And from that time on, slowly, nag-transform na yung mga kanta ko. Na I don't force myself to write songs like Take Me Out of the Dark or Search
Gaya
and
ng
Know.
dati.
Gaya ng dati was actually written for me. Lord, gamitin mo ako gaya ng dati. Eto, nandito ako uli. But I don't force myself to do that. It's just the nature of my heart now to write music that can...
So his music, I guess, transformed or transitioned into gospel music in a way.
speak to people either now or next year or in years to come.
2018
2018
was a hard year.
Was almost a heartbreaking year for me, literally. April 22 or April 23 of 2018, I was celebrating my anniversary. And I was going to dance with Darren Espanto, Inigo Pascual, and Gab Valenciano.
Wow.
In the opening part pa lang ng kanta, may parang there's a pain na, andun ako, hey everyone, how's everybody doing? Welcome to ASAP. Okay, we're gonna celebrate here. Hataw tayong lahat. Hataw na. But there was something that was not right. It was scary because I knew there was something wrong. Was it a heart attack that I was going through? Or was it just muscular pain and all? And I had myself checked after. My blood pressure was mataas. Sa stress test pa lang. Wala yung doktor ko nasa Japan siya. When I was in the stress test, tinatawagan na pala siya ng mga paramedics na umaasikaso sa akin to tell him in Japan, Doc, the readings don't look good, ha? You know. And so after that stress test, medyo mahina ako sa stress test na yon. He called from Japan and he goes, Bards, looks like we have a problem with your heart. I want to see you when I get back.
Oh, I got chills.
Conduct some tests. So he came back and conducted the test, and that's when he saw it. And remember, nasa kama ako ng ganyan, and I looked like that. He goes, you see that? That's 95% block.
No.
It is very fortunate, Gary, that did not rupture while you were performing.
Oh my God.
But I cannot do a stent procedure. I have to open you up and do a bypass. So, but, sure, okay lang. Kasi medyo sedated ako. Yeah, bypass. Okay lang. And with the bypass, they don't cut you open. They kind of break you open kasi puro buto eh. Then they take the heart out. And then I think that they stop the heart. Then they cut me here sa leg to get another artery para makagawa ng bypass.
Grabe.
So when I found out that's what it was.
Major operation.
Major. Kaso it's done all the time. And I must say I had the best doctors with me, you know. So I went in and I'll never forget how I was on that, was it the wheelchair or the
It just shows you how fragile life can be. Oh my God.
the bed, and I saw my kids and they all hugged me one by one, and it was kind of moving for me. But at that point there was no anger. Okay, Lord, you know what's going on, you know what's happening here. Peace. There was peace. I found myself in the palms of his hands, and that for me is the safest place to be, because safety is not in the absence of danger, it's being in the presence of the hands of the Almighty. So I was napapagaling na ako at lahat, and suddenly I started to build up fluids on my left lung,
Seriously?
which they say nangyayari sa 30% ng mga patients
Okay.
who undergo a
Bypass.
bypass.
Still unfortunate.
So I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you know what, let's have a CT scan just para malaman natin kung ano talagang nangyayari. They examined the whole upper part of my body. He said, yung nangyayari sa left side ko, okay lang daw yun kasi 30% nangyayari yun. But I'm more concerned with what's happening to the right side of your body. And I said, why? And that's your kidney, Gary. I said, okay, and he goes, I'm a cardiologist, Gary, but there are too many diabetics that have come to me after a CT scan with their kidneys looking like yours. You have cancer in the kidney, Gary.
So yung
Are
narinig mo
you
yung
freaking
cancer.
kidding me?
Yeah, up to now, Angeli is looking for the right word to describe how I look. It's not scared. I think it was more shocked and parang yung odd na.
It's like, are
But
you
when the
serious?
doctor says, you have it, it's different, Tony. Again,
It's like you look at God and you're like, seriously?
it's like I went like this, and behind me was it's his hand again. When I was being rolled in again to the same operating room
For the kidney.
for the kidney. I think this was in May 6 of 2018. Eto, June 13. So it was like that.
Wala pa 1 month.
Walang break, di ba?
Wow.
So I went in, nilagay ako sa isang kwarto where they leave me and they prepare everything, and I'm just inside this curtained room. And I remember talking to him and I'm saying, Lord, I'm here again. And parang nabasa na niya lahat ng mga nangyayari sa loob ko. And if I can put a picture to it, it's like he sat on my bed, folded his hands and said, yeah, and I'm here again too. And that again gave me peace.
Did you ask why?
The whys came after. It's not why dahil sa bypass and the kidney, but it was more why do you work this way?
The mysterious
Why
ways.
must people go through this in order to learn who you are? And sometimes there's no answer. Tony, there's no, because it's like this. No, it's more just peace to know, I know why, and you don't have to know why, Gary. Just trust in me. But trust in me with all your heart. Don't lean on your understanding.
It's
In
your
all
song.
your ways, correct. That's when it becomes so real. Diba?
Yeah.
That's why every time I do Take Me Out of the Dark, it's never a performance. I'm speaking based on experience. I'm singing based on truth that I want to share with others because it's meant to be true in other people's lives as well.
When was the last time you cried?
It's been a while. It's been a while since I've cried to God. But there was a time I was in this room. I looked at my life and I looked at it from my own eyes. Like looking in the mirror and not liking what you see. That's when I wept here in this room. And I just came down here and I couldn't even talk. There's no, Lord, forgive me, Lord. No, it's more of, and you can't anymore say the words and you just weep. That happened 2019.
Why?
There were also times when I wept before the Lord when I would know that, my Kiana my children are open to talking about these things, no? Because they know it can help others. But Kiana suffers from depression,
Why?
and Gab also does. So sometimes they don't see it. But after they come from here and we talk and all, then I come down here and I think of what they're going through. They live alone.
That's so sad.
So, I can only imagine what that's like.
I wonder why.
That really brings me to tears. But the enemy is alive.
They seem to have such a wonderful family. So I wonder why they're so depressed.
And he's meant to steal, to kill, and to destroy. To steal your dreams, to kill your visions, to all of these things he does 24/7. And he always does it here. This is where it all starts.
The playground.
This is his playground. This is our battlefield.
Paano na nangyari yung pray.com?
Okay, yung pray.com kasi, isa pa yun. Sobrang thankful talaga ako because that happened during the pandemic. Kung saan, wala lang ABS-CBN. Wala lang live shows. Wala. So you're thinking, what am I gonna do now? But thank God for technology like what you see here that allows me to reach the world. Like what you're doing now. Then, one day, Angeli comes to me and says, Gary, thank God because the #1 Bible app in the world, the group called pray.com, they want you to be a part of what they do. I said, what do they want me to do? It's something like what you used to do in the house. What do you mean? The little Bible stories that you used to do at home, they want you to do something like that. Really? So it's a different me, It's still me, but it's me minus the singing, but it's my voice. And then there's also another content that I did called Morning Gratitude. So you wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do is just thank God for what's about to come, what's about to take place.
Yes, we're talking about gratitude. In your 3 decades in the industry, what are you most grateful for?
It's one word, but in that word is everything that has made me who I am, that is continuing to make me who I still need to be.
Tell us the
But
word.
it's in that one word that I should no longer have. Life.
Huh.
It's just, I'm thankful for the life I have today. Toni, when I was diagnosed when I was 14 years old, binanggit ng doktor sa nanay ko, Mrs. Valenciano, a type 1 diabetic is given an average lifespan of 30 years from the day of diagnosis. I was 14. So if you do the math, dapat when I got to 44, wala na. Or maybe I got to 48, pero may mga problema na sa mata, sa nerve endings and all. I'm 57. And I'm not ashamed to tell people how old I am because I'm not living on borrowed time.
Okay. So he has white hairs, but he dyes his hair. But he still looks amazing for a man who's 57 years old. It's incredible. And he clearly is in shape, He probably exercises regularly. That's good, man. That's what everybody should do anyways.
I'm living on his time.
Ang ganda nung sinabi mo rin, Kuya Gary, na we are living on His time. So when the time comes that you graduate here on earth and you meet your Creator face to face, what do you want to tell Him?
Okay.
That's
I
a
think I'm going to
hard
be
question.
speechless because it is also written that no eye has seen, no ear has heard, and no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those that love Him. But maybe the first thing I'll tell Him is, I'm sorry. That's the first thing I'll probably say to Him. Sorry because of the many times that I could have when I should have. I could have done this, but I didn't do it. I should have done this, I shouldn't have done that, but I did. And so that's probably the first thing I'm going to say. I don't need to hear the words, well done, my good and faithful servant, because I don't think I'm there yet.
What do you want people to feel when they listen to your songs?
It's like an open door in a dark room. That's how I want people to feel. It's parang they're in their world. They may not even believe that there is a God that exists and loves them. But when they hear my music, I want that door to open up and they see the light even just a bit and they're drawn to it. The light not being me.
That was a nice representation of what he's talking
They
about.
see the light
That-
even just a bit
This shot. Yeah, for sure.
and they're drawn to it. The light not being me, the light being Him.
How do you want people to remember you?
There was one king in the Word, in the Bible, who probably was the most
She's gonna make him cry with all her awesome questions.
sinful because he was a murderer. And yet, among
Yeah, see,
all
he's very
kings,
emotional.
This is the king that God said was a man after my own heart. I'd like to be remembered as Gary. He was far from perfect, but he pursued the excellence of God. Pag wala na ako, I like the music to continue to reflect not just who I am, but to reflect the desire of people to know who this God is, who I have spoken of, for so long. And I think that that's not an impossibility, but that's how I'd like to be remembered.
I respect that. I respect his vision, and what he strives for. This was a wonderful, wonderful interview. Her questions were honestly the ones I would have asked him as well. The religious talk is a sensitive subject. Not everybody can relate to that, so I don't know. I really don't have any thoughts on that. I usually don't subscribe to that, because every time people start talking about religion, I just feel like they are pushing an agenda on me, But I just felt his honesty through this interview. He speaks very eloquently, his English is really, really good. He never loses his temper, like I said, his voice is very soothing. So I think that's why the people from pray.com, approached him, because the way he talks is just so not mesmerizing, but because it's so soothing, you don't mind listening to it, and you kind of pay attention to what he says. So yeah. Well, he's had ups and downs, just like everybody else. And it's wonderful to see that he's still going, and he's still fighting. And it's unfortunate, that he had so many health problems. But on the other hand, he's had a wonderful career. Now, my question to you is, which Gary Valenciano do you prefer? Do you prefer the old school Gary Valenciano, who would make music and perform music that had nothing to do with God and religion? Or do you prefer this not brand new, but this Gary Valenciano who found God, and makes gospel music? I'm gonna call it gospel music, gospel OPM music, right? I'd like to know your answer in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction video. To be honest, I also wanted to react to a Toni Talks with K Brosas, I think K Brosas, because I'm not familiar with K Brosas the way I'm familiar with Gary Valenciano, but I did react to a few videos of K Brosas, and she's hilarious and she can sing, but I don't know if that's enough for me to be really interested in her life, so maybe I will do it. I don't know, we'll see. So yeah, maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys are healthy. Please stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Thank you for watching. Subscribe here, and please like the video to show your support and appreciation for my work, and turn on the notification bell to be poked for future content. Yeah.